It was dangerous, the lifestyle I was living. I can't count how many times I've been raped. I can't count how many times I've had a gun put to my head. I can't count how many times I've had a knife put to my throat. I've been tied up and carried all the way to Selma, Alabama, and raped and thrown out of a car. I was taken into an abandoned apartment and almost choked to death. God had his hands on me. I am thankful for Breath of Life because I heard Dr. Berg preaching when I was at my lowest point in my life. I was an addict for 20 years. I was a prostitute. I was doing things that I knew I shouldn't have been doing. I hit rock bottom when 33 years old, February 8th of this year. I wanted to jump in front of a car more than I wanted drugs. And then I found God, and I am building my relationship with Him. When I was 17, I had a boyfriend at that time that was doing crystal meth. I had already, been using gateway drugs for a long time, but I wanted to try it, so I tried it. I was on it for a little while, and I was able to lay it down. And then I got pregnant with my oldest daughter. When my daughter was 2, he came home from a binge and went after me with a knife, and then when he heard my daughter, turned towards her with the knife. So I pushed him out the door, picked up my daughter, and left. A couple of years after Sarah's dad, that's my oldest daughter, I got involved with another man. I didn't know that he was a crack addict when I got with him. I was working, supporting my daughter, had an apartment, had a car. I was giving him the money to go pay the bills because I worked nights, and it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when I would get off work. Apparently he wasn't taking the money and going paying the bills because my car got repoed. We got kicked out of the apartment. I ended up pregnant with my youngest daughter, Haley. While I was pregnant with Haley, my dad passed away. He passed away February 8th of 2008. But I was sitting in the kitchen floor that night crying, and he walked into the room with a crack pipe and a piece of crack and said, "Try this, it'll make you feel better." And it did. It stopped all the pain, all of it. He forced me into prostitution after I lost my children. He would force me to do these things and then beat me up because I was doing these things. I guess he wanted me to do it so that he could have the money so that he could use drugs, but then would get mad at me because I was doing it going along with what he was forcing me to do. For a long time, I didn't think that God loved me. For a long time, I felt like if God loved me, I wouldn't have been in the position I was in. If God loved me, I wouldn't have went through what I went through. But now I realize that I went through what I went through because of the choices I made, and that God did love me through it. Because if He did not love me through it, I wouldn't still be here. I did almost lose my life a couple of times, but God was with me. And it feels really good inside to be able to have that daily walk with Him. It feels almost like a kid at Christmas time, I guess is the best way I can put it. My boyfriend brought me to the Breath of Life revival. I started hearing things that made sense, things that started connecting in my head that made me realize that God never left me. God was with me the whole time. He was with me through all the trauma, that I went through, the rape, the near death. And I heard something in my spirit say that it was time. It was time to give up. It was time to give it to Him. It was time to surrender. So I did. And I asked Pastor Bird to baptize me. The way I was used to living, the way I was used to dealing with feelings, it wasn't living. It was killing myself in a sense. Now I get up every morning and I start my day with God and ask Him for His strength, ask Him for His guidance through everything. So I know He has a purpose for my life. I know He has a plan for my life. I'm still trying to figure out what that might be. But my heart feels happy when I get up and I read my devotionals. My heart feels happy when I get up and read my Bible. My heart feels happy when I pray. It feels good. So many times I've said it's over. 1,000 times I've said I quit. I knew I had a life worth living, but the life I was living was not it. Too many times of being raped, 1,000,000 times being called a whore. It took me being so close to death to realize I'm worth so much more. This time when I came to my senses, I wanted death more than drugs. And that is when I hit my knees and said, okay, enough is enough. I was tired of selling my body, selling my soul a hit at a time. This is what was truly happening, and I can't believe that I was so blind. This time, I was an empty shell with nothing left of me to give. This time, I've let God fill me up so that I can truly live.